a quick look at the evolution of Agile methodologies. So when we talk about Agile methodologies, there are loads of them. I mean, we're going to cover each of them in detail. We've been talking about Scrum. The sprints are all part of Scrum. The sprint review, the Scrum meeting. I was talking about the sprint retrospective, even the Scrum Master. All of these roles and things, the activities, they're all part of Scrum. And Kanban, we've had a look at the Kanban board, right? The to-do being doing and done, that visual information radiators, the board, the Kanban board, that's all part of Kanban. And Lean, it actually came from manufacturing and again adapted into the IT for the technology space. Lean again is another methodology. Safe, I was talking about the big, the Scrum of Scrums kind of a thing. Safe again is a scaled agile framework. DSDM, Dynamic Systems Development Model, again, something like Safe. It's about a good roughly about 20 years old methodology, very powerful. Extreme programming, we discussed that. Paired programming, how we can empower the programmers to work in tandem to code and review at the same time. So it actually gives you the better output. So that is extreme programming. And there's actually one particular process called Rational Unified Process, RUP, which was created by Rational Software, which was later acquired by IBM. And then they came up with something called as Agile Unified Process. So we'll have a look at all of these in greater detail, one by one. In fact, I'm planning to have a deep dive sessions like this, just on Scrum 1 week, Kanban in the next week, and Lean the next week. So it's actually, we cover all these details, the roles and responsibilities, the techniques, the principles, the tools that you use in each of these methodologies. They're completely different from each other. So we're going to discuss them in detail in the coming weeks. So let's have a look at the evolution of each of these methodologies. So you have this concept of rapid application development that came up about 25, 30 years ago, where people started, don't spend like on the waterfall, just let's quickly do something. That's where the prototyping came in. Prototyping, wireframing, POCs, all of that came in. Gradual implementation of that, and that's how the whole Agile approach started about 25 years ago. And then Lean software development came in slightly after that, in that context of manufacturing. Lean, for example, Six Sigma, and then MUDA, waste management, how you should identify the waste in your process, eliminate MUDA and the waste, eliminate downtime. All of these are actually some of the fundamental principles that we actually got from the manufacturing setup, from automotive. From Toyota was the first one which actually came up with this, the Toyota car manufacturer back in the 1980s and 90s, I think 70s and 80s. So from there on, we actually got some of those concepts came into IT development, into technology space, software development, and we adopted some of them. And then came the extreme programming, very popular, where you just put two programmers together, no manager, no designer, no developer, no analyst, and all those. Just two, it works in pairs. So take two programmers and actually ask them to work together. So one person would be coding, and the other person would be actually sitting and then just reviewing, telling him what to code and telling her what to code and things like that. So, and then they swap the roles later. So this person would just observe, the other person would actually code. And then they actually kind of work in tandem that way. So that's called extreme programming, very powerful. Again, we'll talk about this in greater detail. Again, Kanban, we just discussed. The board, the visual information radiators, how we can get the information visually. Scrum, we discussed at length. We're going to discuss this in greater detail. And then came the model-driven engineering, which is again another kind of, it's a flavor of Agile, but it relies on the models. Like you've got the UML model, you've got the model view controller. All of these again came from there. The feature-driven development is another Agile approach. So you can see there's so many there. There's a BDD, behavior-driven development. We just discussed in the initial parts of the session today, the given, when, then. So given this, given the product has given we show the add to cart button in the catalog, when the user clicks on the button, the item should be added to the cart. So that's kind of a scenario. So you write given something, when something happens, when the user does something, then it should have this expected behavior. So that's called given, when, and then. Just like how a user story should have, as a user, I should be able to do this so that I can get this benefit. That's the format of a user story. Similarly, BDD scenarios are written in this way. Again, we'll go in depth into each of these. TDD, again, very, very important, test-driven development. How you're actually putting the testing as the first thing. In this methodology, what we do is we don't write requirements first. We write test cases first. We fail them. Obviously, we don't have the software, we don't have the functionality already developed to get success out of a test case. So we fail. The first time around, we run that, we fail that test case. And then we work on that. We make sure that it actually had some functionality. The next pass, we again try and make it a success or a pass. It may not pass, it fails again. Maybe third iteration, it again, the execution of that test would result in success or a pass. And then that's how we move on to the next one. So it's again a very, very powerful methodology. And nowadays, most of the organizations are using them. You have got domain-driven design. So there are a whole lot of plethora of methodologies out there, which are all of these are actually kind of independent, small little, works well with small teams, just a small little product or an application you're developing. They're perfect tools, perfect approaches for that. They may not be suitable for the large projects, and that's where the dynamic systems development methodology is very popular. It started off, I believe, in about 80s and 90s, and then it was used in large, complex projects where you've got multiple teams working in different places, different technology, different tools. It really works very well with that. And same with, for example, Agile Unified Process. Again, a very good scalable enterprise level Agile methodology. And then, of course, a safe, scaled Agile framework, which is very popular nowadays. Safe Agilist is what they call. A lot of certifications around on the net, and the people are asking for safe practitioners. So all of these three scaled versions of methodologies do have a mix and match of these independent small little